talk about mostly to do with weight loss, because when you're feeling heavy and when you're feeling you're stuck in a rut and when you're kind of not able to cope with things, you've got an awful lot of stress on your body, you carry that. You don't just carry it on your shoulders and on your backside and on your belly and on your boobs. A lot of people have, big boobs because they are really over caring for an awful lot of other people and, rather than themselves. And I'm very, very aware of breast cancer cases and all those kind of things. And a lot of this comes from our mental thoughts. And so this is so interesting to be able to talk about the mental effects and metaphysical effects that we have on our bodies and what our body is mirroring back to us. She doesn't give us a little signature and a sign that kind of says, you need to sort out your mental health. You need to think positively. She shows you in the only way she can. She protects you with extra weight. She protects you, and she's doing a phenomenal job. And it's for us to kind of unravel that and sort things out, sort our relationships out with ourselves, with our bodies, and then we can start caring for those around us.
That's really interesting. I hadn't thought about it that way, although I know that your mental health and your stress and all that shows itself in like not letting your emotions out. Many people will have ulcers or have stomach problems or will have bad health and we know from a metaphysical standpoint that it's all related, but a lot of people don't know that. And so what we're going to talk about today is the effect your mental health has on your relationship and how when you're going through a divorce, and I was sharing earlier that I have been in a situation where I've had two or three clients over the last 20 years. I can't remember, but I know for sure two. And on the opposing side, there have been people as well who committed suicide as they've gone through the divorce. And so, the three of us are just here to help whoever may be watching or whoever, this goes out in our newsletters to help everybody to know that there is hope and that we don't want people to give up or to feel like Allison said, you're not alone, in this feeling and that feelings of shame prevent you from getting help and everybody wants you to get help, right? So what have you, Allison, you obviously work with people who are in that place where they don't feel like their marriage is working out and what do you think? How do you think mental health plays a part of that?
It's a huge part of it. And the thing that helped for me and I was thinking about yesterday is, when you're in that place, when you're keeping it all together, and we do that, don't we? We keep it all together for friends and family, and we try and stay strong, and we put that mask on, and the mask is probably, is even more firmly fixed than it would be at other times in our life. And that makes it even more difficult to reach out and ask for help. So one of the things that for me was so important was to be able to relate to other people in the same situation, to relate to other people who had similar, maybe not the same story, maybe not even having difficulty in their marriage, but the same feelings that I was having, that the same sense of, lack of self-worth and, and hopelessness, and to hear somebody else talking about that and showing that there's a way out of it and offering, really offering that hand of friendship or that hand of, of help, going in and offering it to somebody rather than asking, making yourself available, because you don't have the strength, you don't have the mental or physical strength to go looking for help when you're in that place. So, we need people to come to us and say, I'm here, and keep coming and keep coming. And it's so easy if somebody says, I'm fine, just to not go with your instincts or your intuition and let them be. But that, that's the time that really we need to step up and be offering ourselves and offering offering our own stories. And that's one of the reasons that I'm a part of Project Positive Change, is exactly that. We share what we've been through and what it can be like when you get to the other end. But we never get fully to the other end because there's always more to learn. But when you come through that period of darkness, and that's one of the beauties of this sort of forum, is we get to share that and we get to show that there is a different side of life. I don't breathe now.
And Fiona, what about you? I mean, I agree 100% that a lot of times mental illness is masked by eating disorders or, depression is, for me, and I shared this before, I used to be a binge eater and I knew I could directly relate the fact that I was binge eating to self-hatred. I mean, I knew, why are you doing this to yourself? So I know that you must see this a lot. And what do you tell somebody when they're in that place where they're trying to numb out their emotions with food?
It depends on each person and how they're going to hear it. I have also been there, and I was there even again like 4 years ago when I got separated from the father of my children. And again, I was kind of pointing the finger at him and saying, oh, you don't support me and all the rest of it. And I was I just got myself into a very low place. And I'm thinking, only I can get myself out of this. I cannot rely on someone else or get someone else to get me out of this place. Only I can do it. So you try one day and then you feel a little bit better, but you have to know it's just a phase and that you can get out of it. I mean, I felt really, really low, and I was low financially, and it caused an awful lot of other problems as well. So I wasn't able to earn money and all those kind of things. And it was pretty dire. And I got very angry at the kids and angry at myself. You just have to keep practicing and doing your best every single day. And for me, it's taking time out for myself, doing things that matter for me. And I heard it from somebody about being selfish. And I'd always taken the role of being selfish, like, oh no, I'm a mother, I can't be selfish. Got people to care for, and I've got to be there, and I've got to be on board. Oh God, it's only me that can do that. And then I understood that selfishness was what you have to be able to do so that you can survive. So I was in a survival mode. I was very much on the brink of kind of like, I could either tumble and fall and lose everything, or I could make things better and better and better and better. And I have this vision of who I want to be. And this is what I work with people. I have the vision of, you hold that vision of how you want to feel in your body. You can say all the words, you can say all the mantras, you can do all the whatever, but if you're still in your head about something, you're never going to get there. And it's a strong image and vision and feeling that you can do it. And you need support. You cannot do everything on your own. And sometimes your friends and your family are not your best support, because it's difficult to say. They don't want you to be better than you are or you have been. And it's our job to help women and guys to move on to who they really, really want to be in this life. And that's massively different from most people who come to me are in a turning point. It's a bad relationship. They've lost their job, they've lost their house, or they're going through a split or something like that. You know, they're struggling with their kids and they're struggling, and it weighs heavy on them. And therefore we have too much on our plate. All these analogies.
Yeah, I was going to say.
All these analogies.
Like, are you doing that on purpose? It's very funny.
No, but it is. It's like, oh, what do you say to yourself? What are you saying to yourself? And then look at how much you do have on your plate. If you're saying, I'm just steaming, I'm boiling over, my car even represented that for me. It blew a fuse. It smoked and broke a gasket. You know, and if your boiler goes in your house, you're the old boiler in your house. You are the main, thing that brings the heat and the warmth into the house. And if your boiler starts leaking, look at all the kind of stuff that's going on around you.
Yeah. So I think that this is something Allison says all the time, is that you have to be able to imagine your life being different. And we talk about that in context of having a new relationship or having a relationship that you want. But I think Fiona just brought it up with mental health. You have to be able to imagine that things are going to be different for you. And so I think that, how do you get to that place, Allison? I mean, because when you're teaching people to visualize what it would be like with a new relationship, and you can use that same thing just if you're feeling, you're feeling hopeless. It's kind of the same hopelessness, and you feel your relationship's at a dead end, or you feel your life's at a dead end. How do you start that, Allison? I mean,
it's the first thing, it always takes that little nugget of willingness, that just that little desire to to change, and it doesn't have to be any more than that. That's enough to start sort of putting a wedge between you and the hopelessness.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that you can barely put into words, because you know what it's like. As soon as you open the door to the willingness, things happen. People come into your life. Somebody starts sharing, and that's exactly what happened with me. Somebody started to share about how hopeless they had been, and the way that they talked about it, I could relate. I could feel it. That's exactly where I was, and that was enough for me to say, well, look at her. She's laughing. She's smiling. She's beautiful to look at. Her hair's clean for a start, because I wasn't even thinking about showering or washing or whatever at that point. I didn't care. All this. I thought, well, if she can, maybe, just maybe, there's a chance for me. So it's looking for, if you can, I always say, if you can't get the willingness, if you don't have the willingness, just keep asking God, the universe, source, whoever it is that isn't you. Just keep asking, give me the willingness, please give me the willingness.
Yeah.
It will come, the moment will come. And from there, it's very much just being open to thinking differently. That lovely old Einstein quote says, what is it, something like, you can't solve the problem with the same mind.
I thought it was insanity is doing the same thing over and over
again.
Yeah,
that's one of them, but the other one...
It may not be Einstein, but...
Yeah, maybe it's not. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I made it up. Maybe
you're the brilliant person who made it up.
But it's thinking. You can't solve the problem with the same mind that created it in the first place. You need to shift, or you need to be open to shifting your mindset.
Yeah, and I think willingness to see things differently, because we can, and because we don't, we're not here to say that negative emotions are bad or shouldn't go through negative emotions. Because you have to feel those, you have to feel the whole spectrum of emotions, but staying stuck in it and not being, I think the willingness is part of it, a willingness to climb out just a little bit, and get yourself out of that. And to then, I think, to have some faith that it's going to happen. And that's why I think hearing the stories of people triumphing and getting through it are what helps motivate you, right? Because you can see there is life on the other side of this misery or this unhappiness.
And that's, the thing that we do is we try and self-medicate. So, for me, for instance, I self-medicated with wine. But I don't want to feel, I'll drink. I don't want to, I just don't want to know what's going on. Other people use food, other people use sex, other people use shopping. We're always looking for a way of not feeling those emotions or those feelings. And the thing about not feeling them is we don't feel the good. We don't feel the bad, but we also don't feel the good. So life just becomes so completely flat. So when it's removing yourself from those, from those vices that you're using to push down the feelings and the emotions. So, letting go of that, letting go of the need to, at the end of the day, pour yourself a huge glass of wine and say, okay, I don't want to think anymore, or going to the cupboard and opening it and taking out a huge bar of chocolate. Actually, I did both at the same time.
I think the two and the wine came together, if I recall correctly. But what do you tell Fiona? What do you tell people when you can I would imagine, working with people, that the body is really just a symptom of the underlying unhappiness, right? I mean, how do you, when somebody comes to you and they're like, I'm so overweight, and because sometimes I've seen people in the office that are really overweight and they don't even realize that that's stemming from something else.
No.
How do you break that to them?
Well, normally with a bit of humor, sometimes but you can only do it if somebody's really, really, really wants to do it, And I was talking to somebody and I get into these kind of rants and I was like, basically, people who are overweight are fucked off, unhappy in their relationship and they're bored, So there's a lot of that goes on.
And I'm sure they love it when you say that.
And they don't really realise that that's where it's all coming from. They say, God, I am fucked off and I'm bored and I'm not in the relationship I dreamt about when I was a teenager. Romance was supposed to be awesome, It's supposed to be
right.
They always go and they lived happily ever after. Right, okay. But I think Alison and I, we were talking about that last week and say, we think that sometimes relationships are the hardest thing that you can deal with.
Sure.
When you're on this planet, in this lifetime, something like that, they seem to be the things that challenge us the most. So One of the things that I get people to play with to try and get them out of their, they don't know what they want. So basically, what is it that you want? So just fantasize, just go crazy. If you're a Hollywood star or what, whoever you'd be, a role model, what would you fantasize about? What would you do? And then they start to work out, yeah, God, I'd actually quite like that. I'd like to be able to go on holiday twice a year. Oh, I'd like to be able to wear that wardrobe, and that dress looks fabulous on her. And I'd like to be able to go to this gala opening, and then it just starts to roll. And then they see something else that they'd like, and then they see something else that they'd like. But this lifts up your spirits, and it's just playing, and it's just playfulness and visualizing. And, with that, so many more things are available to you. And you think, well, if she's got it, why can't I?
Yeah, I mean, I know when I was depressed in the past, and it's been probably 6 years ago or 7 years ago, and I wouldn't want to leave the house. And I think that, I would, and on outward appearances, I was very successful, traveled a lot, had whatever I wanted, had a nice car, nice house. But when I wasn't working or gone out of town, I was like sitting in my house. And Tiffany, who's my assistant and like, doing me forever, it's just like, Lee, you have to go out. You cannot. And I think it's what you said, Fiona. When you're depressed, Alison was just saying about not washing your hair, which works perfectly when you don't go anywhere.
You don't
want to do anything. You don't want to be. And I also think, and Tiffany teaches this as well, even getting dressed, even, putting on your makeup or doing your hair or, getting out of that space, because and depression can seem like a dark hole, and forcing yourself to face the world can be the best thing for you, rather than just sitting alone in your house. In my experience, that's not very conducive to feeling better.
It's a habit also.
Yeah.
It's so easy. I've done it. I've never, one time I think I've not left the house all week. The boys got the bus to school. They got the bus home. I didn't have to go out. I was in my slippers all day. I was doing what I needed to do behind the computer or whatever, and taking a little bit of a siesta. And yeah, that's the way life can go. You get into the routine and you lose yourself in late night TV or overeating, or you don't want to communicate or go out or be seen. And then you think, I can't go out. People say, but you love salsa dancing. Why don't you? I said, I just don't feel, I feel too fat to go salsa dancing, or I feel too fat to do this, or I just don't feel I'm physically attracted. And, all the excuses come up.
Right, and I think part of the whole thing about I think we need human connection, right? I think relationships are difficult because they're the way we grow. That's if we're just sitting in a room by ourselves all the time, then we're not growing, we're not evolving, we're not becoming the best version of ourselves, right? When you're on your own. And Marianne Williamson talks about how people would say, I'm going to be in a relationship when this has happened and this has happened and this has happened. And she's like, well, the relationship is where you're going to get to this place. Those are the laboratories. That's how you get to that better place, is by going through those relationships and evolving. And so, I would, and I think Alison said this earlier, if you are feeling depressed, or if you feel depressed, reach out to somebody or accept an invitation to get out in the world, just to give yourself a respite from sitting around feeling miserable on your own.
I think one thing that we miss is the feeling of being alive. And that's why I talk about the body a lot, is because until I realized what I missed was adventure. And I think, well, what does adventure bring me? God, my body just feels alive. And it's the dancing and it's the swimming and it's the whatever it is, the bungee jumping or the horse riding or whatever. But it's like, God, I'm on this planet. I can create anything I want. And this is me sitting at home feeling dead. I'm not doing anything to feel physically alive. And it wasn't until I met the partner that I've got now, and I went, do you know what? No matter what, I'm going to open myself up to love. I'm going to be vulnerable to love. And I was so scared, because I was like, no, even if I get hurt, even if it's just the worst thing that ever happens to me, but I'm going to experience me loving the best I possibly can. because I don't want to be scared of being in a relationship because of what's happened, several times.
Right.
Beautiful.
That's amazing. And I think that fear is what keeps us a lot of times stuck in our house with our dirty hair, with our with our food and our bottle of wine. It's that, rejection or, and so what both of you said is just envisioning the life that you want to have. And
even just the night you want to have, I was thinking when you were talking, one of the things, and I see it and I hear it a lot, is I can't because, and you've got this picture of how you should be in order to be able to do that thing. And I don't mean just physically, but, for me, it was very much, I've got these two personalities. I'm either all out there and full of life, or I'm really quiet. And when I was depressed, that really quiet one was, of course, the one that was there all the time. And for me, the thought of going out as that quiet version was the thing that kept me from actually taking action and moving forward. But it's knowing that you could just do it anyway. Just make, whatever it is, it'll lighten something up. It'll give you something to hang on to. And people want to help. That's the thing. People are so desperate. We have this vision of how the world is, and the world's a bad place, and it's full of mistrust and whatever. People desperately want to help other people. It's it's innate. It's in us. We want to help. Let us. It's just let us. Just open yourself up to it.
And another thing is that helping other people also makes you feel better. So if you are in a space of like volunteering, or if you're in a space where you don't feel like, think it, go and volunteer, go and do something for somebody else or for some animals, or it definitely lifts your spirits when you do things for other people. And we have some other people, speaking of other people, we have a group of people, I think, that are going to do a show next on Facebook Live. And so I'm being told that that other people are trying to get on. So we're running a little late today because we had some technical difficulties. So we're going to have to wrap it up now so we don't keep running into the schedule. So Allison, thank you for being here. Fiona, thank you for being here. And we hope that if you're watching, then you are having just a teensy bit of hope that there are things you can do. And I've noticed on some of the live streams, the comments about other people sharing their own stories of depression. And we know there are a lot of stories out there, but you guys are not alone. Every one of us has shared just in this little time together today how it's impacted us. And so we're all here for you. Send us messages. How can people find you, Allison?
You can find me on Project Positive Change, or you can go and visit my website at AllisonReiner.com. Or if it's too much even to do that, just put a little cross or a tick or something on the comments on Facebook, and we'll come and find you. We'll come and reach out to you, because sometimes even sending a message can feel like a trauma. So make it as simple as possible. Just send us a love heart or something, and one of us will reach out to you.
Fiona, what about you? Where can people find you?
I'm also with Project Positive Change. My website is fionarobertson.co, and like Allison said, just send us a little message, a little PM or something like that, or download your whole story onto us PM wise, or whatever makes you feel good. And we're here to kind of unravel that for you and just bring you up to the next level, and anything's possible.
Yeah, and I was just sharing with somebody that I really focused on the why of why I do the things that I do, and why is because I have been in those dark places, and that's why Project Positive Change exists, because I know that it's possible to go from feeling that way to having a fulfilling and beautiful life. And so if it's possible for me, Allison, Fiona, it's possible for you guys. So we love you guys, whoever you are. And I think we did go live on Facebook ultimately.
We did. We did. We made it.
We made it. You guys have a great day. Thanks, everybody. Sorry for the technical difficulties. But that's
Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Fiona.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.